can't we all just get along? I mean, after all, that's what conflict management is all about. And that's what we were discussing is if we all can get along. Conflict is just a part of life, and in everyday occurrences, there's going to be conflicts. For example, today, there was a conflict at my job place about a training program that I was trying to institute. Now, of course, I knew I was right, but there was still some disagreement on the program and how we should run it and what should be included, and basically what the results should be and how we measure the results. I'd already formulated a plan and presented it to my team to allow them to see, everything that I said, and I put a fair amount of work into it, so I was fairly confident that everything in the plan was included. Well, once we started the discussion, ideas were rose and things came up that stated maybe I had not considered every option. So I felt this was a good conflict because it was just a conflict of ideas, really not a personality conflict at all. There were some ideas, some information that I was unaware of, and needed to make some corrections on. Ultimately, what we decided to do was go with the plan that I suggested with some minor tweaks here and there to accommodate everyone's ideas and what they wanted. Before the meeting, I was very confident that everyone would agree with what I said, basically with no questions asked. During the conflict, I was surprised and a little bit frustrated. I also felt as if maybe I was ganged up a bit on because it was 5 of them basically tearing my training ideas apart. But I realized that we all are trying to achieve the same goal. We all want to increase performance. So because we all want to increase performance, there was no reason to take this personal. They were just pointing out things in the training that may have been missed or maybe that I hadn't considered. So this was actually a good conflict, and some good dialogue arose from this, and some great ideas came out of this. And I made some adjustments to the training, and I left the meeting feeling satisfied. And I'm sure they felt satisfied as well. And that's the goal of conflict management in my mind, is for both parties to leave the negotiating table, if that's what you would call our discussion today, feeling that both parties got what they wanted to achieve. And in the end, we were both wanting the same thing, which was to accomplish our goals and to increase performance. I took the Thomas Kilmann conflict mode instrument, and really I wasn't surprised with the results. I've always been one to compromise, and I wasn't surprised that I came out as a compromiser or a compromising style of conflict management. Although I understand that in most cases, I feel that I've prepared and I've done everything to make sure I understand the subject or the issue that's at hand. I also realize that there are unseen variables in every situation, and there's no way that one person can know every aspect of a conflict. So because of that, I'm usually one to be willing to compromise in a situation. I don't avoid conflict in most circumstances. I don't embrace it. I'm not looking for a conflict, but I understand that avoiding a conflict only makes it worse. And in the model and in the readings, it spoke about the same thing, how if avoiding conflict will just allow those emotions, that undercurrent of tension to develop, and eventually it's going to find a release point. And like a volcano, poof, it'll pop its top and you'll find conflicts that you can't even put a cap back on anymore. So I definitely don't avoid conflicts, but I am one to compromise in most situations. So that didn't surprise me that I came back as compromising as my particular way of dealing with conflict management. Also, the one thing that I did reflect in the reading, and I thought about based on what I've learned about conflict management as well, one thing would have been to maybe give everyone a chance to express ideas before I presented my plan. Ultimately, giving them time to think over the plan, express their ideas, provide that feedback to me, and then come up with a comprehensive plan that incorporated both their ideas and my ideas to come out with a more collaborative situation, which would have avoided the conflict in the very beginning. That is one thing that I feel I should do more of, because I am one to develop a plan, make the plan, tell everybody this is the plan that I want to go with, and then get ideas and feedback after the fact, which ultimately causes a conflict. Not always a bad conflict, but causes a conflict. And as I said earlier, we all want to get along. And the best way to avoid a fight is just not to have the fight at all. Well, excuse me. The best way to not have a fight is to avoid the fight in the first place. And I believe that oftentimes if you incorporate others' ideas and you gather those ideas first before you make a plan, most times you will avoid a conflict to begin with. And guess what? We'll all get along.